It's that get your mind right. Let it be that when we come correct because life, as you know, will have one going about questioning their position. And a lot of us, we don't know our positions in life. We all out of place. Let it be the social norms, let it be to economic values, but one must go about asking themselves, do we know the right things to go about doing? And then doing the right thing, it calls in the character some actions that one must go about taking. But too many times we go about forsaking the little things that we're supposed to do. I was supposed to do a live today. Just be a man about it. Because then others will go about respecting you. But due to technical difficulties, that live never came forth. But can't nothing stop this train. What's in progress is always going to be. So that's the mindset that I'm trying to pass on to everybody. Despite what happened, don't ever allow anything to go about interrupting or impeding that progress you're trying to make in life. Now, the reason just be a man about it was interesting to me in this sense was when we look at the terminology to be a man, what does it consist of to be a man? One must go about having integrity in how he go about conducting himself. He must have honor. He must hold values within himself that he is ready to go about sharing with the rest of the world. A man is not easily led, but seeks, looks, and see what's going on. So that being a man, he knows the right time to go about interjecting. But my problem with society today is a lot of these men, so-called men, they're acting like females. These so-called men is running their mouths about things trying to get attention. That's not being a man. And then these so-called men, when you go about calling them out on the way they go about conducting themselves, they're quick to get emotional. That's not being a man. A man rationalizes and looks at things from a perspective that makes sense for the overall value. A real man is not selfish in the way he goes about conducting himself or when it comes to others. So that's why I had to make this live. Just be a man. Be a man. Stand up. Own up to it. If you goofed up in life, be alright with it. You're going to learn from it. Don't try to make excuses and try to go about validating your worthlessness just to try to go about making it seem as if though that you are defined by excuses. Gabriel, when they, hey, hello. And these are some of the things that's imperative to passing down to the next generation. There's a certain way that we have to go about conducting ourselves. And a lot of men in today's society don't know how to go about being men. Let it be the single mothers, let it be to environment, but the environment which is going about propagating certain things, it's not healthy because as a man, You have to own up to what's going on with you. Life is not about making excuses. But you see, society on a whole is going around pampering everybody. We got to watch what we say, watch how we conduct ourselves. Even if we're doing foolishness, we are not to go about correcting it. And I can't have that because what are we really going about promoting? And the one thing that we have to go about promoting in this day and age is that we must promote accountability for our actions, our thoughts, and the way we go about looking at life. Too many times I'm walking down the street and I see interactions with guys trying to go about arguing with females. Now, one must go about asking themselves, has the influence of females in this guy's life been so strong that he would want to go about arguing? Now, if that's all he know, that's all he could go about doing. And yes, the fathers in the house has become a neutering to the man not knowing his true character and his true value and what he's to go about doing. So we need to go about pursuing a better way and promoting a healthier, uplifting way that we go about teaching these young men just be a man. Because in being a man, others will go about respecting you. They will go about seeing your value. But if we're trying to fit into the populace and what's going on, how will you ever go about garnering respect? You can't. Because then you are just following the next idiot. And the sad part about it is, even though that we are garnered the unique ability of being ourselves, not too many men are willing to go about standing on what they believe. Stand on principle. Don't fold like a little cheap tent, because if your family don't respect you, how anybody else gonna respect you? But these are some of the things that we must encourage from the household, that young men and young women, they go about promoting themselves in a way that garners others' respect. But these are some of the things that I wish others would go about incorporating and promoting for these young men to go about acting as real men, not to go about promoting a social stance where they're trying to do everything in which is to go about fitting in to the populace. Because if we look at society, society in itself is in an endangering state. We have young men that act like young women, and we have young women that want to go about acting like young men. There's a state of confusion. We're all human beings, but if we don't carry ourselves in the accordance of how we are to go about looking at things, we will all become disarrayed, disenfranchised, and we will be lost. But the whole thing is for us to go about finding ourselves. And that's why I go about pointing to the tree, because you are that tree. You are the tree of life. But a tree promotes certain things in life. And in promoting certain things, it could go about producing worthlessness, or it could go about producing beauty. And for any of those who have kids, don't go about pampering your kids. You're only going about hindering them in regards to meeting the world. Because nobody's going to go about pampering your little daughter. Nobody's going to go about pampering your little son. This world that we live in, nobody gives a damn about nobody. So nobody's going to take time to see, well, this is your shortcomings. We'll have patience with you. Nah, that's not how it works. So be mindful. If you are a young man, if you have people in your family who are not conducting or upholding themselves with values which is positive, you have to take a reassessment and look, am I following those who are going about promoting worthlessness? Because when we look, what we partake in is what we become. You you tell 1,000 lies. After a while, the lies start to formulate easily off your tongue, because that's the life you're living. You practice stealing enough times, you will get good at it and you will become a thief. So do not partake in things which brings worthlessness. To be a man, you must carry yourself like a man. And there's certain values in which will not be negotiable, because you have to value sense of self, and having worth gives these things the knowledge we need to go about seeking. So let it be that it's a continuous prayer, and in that we go about finding things that we could go about working on within ourselves to become our better selves, to elevate to a better way of thinking. If you are a woman, conduct yourself as a woman. But the the mainstay is that I have to be what society wants me to be. No, that's not how life works. You are to be what you were created to be. And unless you go about holding on to that mindset, we will all become the hamster on a wheel and just running in place and not getting anywhere. We can't live life like that. The young are going astray because the old have no sense of direction. The old are not going around passing down anything worthwhile. So the young have been led astray. The men are not holding the young men by the hand and showing them how to go about doing things, because they themselves don't know. And if the blind is leading the blind, it's only a matter of time. So find it in yourself that you do the research, you do the work to go about helping yourself become that person you are to be. As seasons pass, everything changes, but we have to remember that change is inevitable. All things change, but we must promote a healthy growth in how we're going about trying to get to that better place. We can't promote the same old status quo because promoting the same old status quo is just not where it's at. And that's why just be a man is very important because we have too many young men in this world that are going about chasing things that does not promote the health and a stable foundation for the young men coming after them. Because if they don't know how to be men, how will they go about showing their kids how to be men? It's a vicious cycle in which there's a break in the link. And for those who do not go about knowing, all they will do is suffer and perish. But life is more than that. Life is a beautiful gift. Life is a beautiful gift only if we would just take the time and leave perception behind. There are certain things that we must go about doing for ourselves that nobody else can do for us. There are certain values that one must go about incorporating so that in doing these things, they promote a sense and hold on to a value of gratitude. You see, in the 60s, with the formulation of these movements, it was to go about embracing the value that African Americans had. But due to necessities and wants, these things were disbanded because everybody is vulnerable to the necessities of life. And if one does not go about holding on to the things in which promotes value, you will be easily bought out for less than your worth. And too many, too many times we see young men go about settling for less and not working for more because they do not hold that constructive precept of I am worth it. But because they do not hold that value that they are worth it, they go about minimizing their value. And minimizing their value, it causes a strain. And with them being a strain, it devalues that human being. That's why it's very important that we go about promoting the sense of encouraging each other to go about being their best selves. If you have a man, if you're trying to get a man, if you want a man, treat that man as a man. Do not devalue that man because he has a job that is minimum wage. Because when you value that man, he will become valued in himself and others seeing him as a man. But in society, we go about kicking down the man because the man makes less than the woman. But the man is doing something honest, but we don't appreciate that honesty. You're taught from home that find a man that got a good job and so forth. But not all men are privileged to go about getting a good job. But if that man is sticking by your side and you kicking down that man because you make more than a man, what good are you to that man? Encourage yourself, man, that you're here in life, but look for improvement within your situation. Look for elevation in the way how you're doing things. Look for ways in which you could go about uplifting yourself so that you do not become a strain or a burden, but find it in yourself that every day is our day that gives me an opportunity to go about making this thing better. And once you find that within yourself, you will go about garnering respect from others. So let it be that we go about encouraging our young men, go about promoting our young men, uplifting our young men, so they can know what it takes to be a real man. And that's the beauty within it all right there. Because too many of us don't know how to be men because we never had men in our life to go about showing us what it takes to be a real man, you see. And when we go about questioning why we're doing what we're doing, then we go about holding each other to a different standard in life. Be a friend. Hold them by the hand. If you know better, do better. For the innocents hurt when the wise do nothing. Do not go about promoting a lie just to make yourself feel comfortable. Because validation comes when our work is exemplified for everybody to see. But if your thing is of making excuses, you're far from being a man. You're a boy who is walking around in a shell of a man. And this is the work that must be addressed. We must go about promoting that constant growth so that it helps us to become what we are to become. Now that's my blessing. One.